Hello everyone, welcome to A Stitch in Time. Today is Tuesday, December 9th, 2025, and this is episode 318. I'm Carol, also known as Knits and Pearls on Ravelry, and I live east of Vancouver in the Fraser Valley of British Columbia, Canada, where we are quickly losing our light. I glanced over there because that's where the window is. I've rigged up lighting the best I can. I know it's glaring in the pictures here, but at least it's bright. And I'm just doing the best I can with what I have, and I'm confident you will understand and be perfectly okay with it. Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been almost a month since my last regular episode, and I have missed podcasting. To make up for it a little bit though, I have been doing Vlogmas since December 1st. I didn't mention it last regular episode because honestly, I didn't know until the morning of the 1st that I was going to do it for sure. I had skipped the last couple of years, but with it being the first year in our new home, I felt like I had some fresh content for you. And I also had more time this month than I've been having lately, and I thought it just would be a fun thing to do. So thanks for everyone who's been watching that and leaving comments. And if you are interested, you can go to the A Stitch in Time podcast YouTube channel, and there is a devoted playlist for Vlogmas 2025. You can subscribe and hit notifications if you want to be notified when there are new episodes. And of course, if you like what you see, then please do give us a like, and that will help more people find my channel. Now, I want to welcome all new viewers especially. I know Vlogmas is a time when people often discover new podcasts, so thanks so much for checking me out. I hope you enjoy what you see and want to keep coming back. I just do this for fun. I enjoy fiber crafts of many types, and this is just another extension of my creative joy. And so creative endeavors, maybe that's a better way to put it. And so I do not have a fiber arts business of any sort. I just do this for fun. And so, yeah, just so you know, it's not like I'm trying to make money at this. Not that there's anything wrong with that. That's some people's legitimate businesses, and more power to you. Just so you're aware of that. That's all. Okay, before I show you what I've been up to for the past few weeks, just a reminder, the Stash Spectacular year-long chatter thread make-along is coming to an end in a couple of weeks. As I always say, this year has kind of been a real write-off for me. I've not participated hardly at all, but I do want to thank those of you who have, and I'm just not sure what I'm going to do next year as far as make-alongs. If you're interested in me continuing to have a stash-focused chatter thread open in the Ravelry group, please let me know. I am happy to do that. It's a simple thing to set up, and if you are enjoying gathering there and sharing your progress on your crafting, then I am happy to accommodate that. I just have, especially this year, realized that I have a tough time keeping up, and I think I'd rather I just find I'm spending less and less time on Ravelry, and I guess I feel like the time I do have, I want to focus either on podcasting or on crafting itself. So I guess we just have to sometimes learn, what makes us tick and what makes us happy. And that's what I've discovered is, now I'm just rambling. So let's move on. I have things to show you. I have 2 finished projects. One, and I warn you again, I have stuff everywhere around here, so I'm going to be reaching in and out of frame quite often. And I've realized you're going to hear some chiming. I don't know how to make my, I have my iPad sitting over there, and I'm getting messenger notifications because my sisters are chatting, and you may hear some dings. I don't know how to turn off the notifications, and just so you know, just if you hear little dings in the background, that's what it is. Anyway, I have a pair of socks that I have finished as a gift for my brother-in-law, Ed. They are for his birthday, which has passed, but he will be here at Christmas time, and so I will give them to him then. So this yarn is West Yorkshire Spinners Signature 4-ply in the Starling colorway, which is number 1169. And then the coordinating heels is also West Yorkshire Spinners, and it is color 632 Cinnamon Stick. So it's a 72 stitch top down sock on a 2mm needle. And I really do like this colorway. It was fun to knit up. As I've mentioned before, starlings are kind of the bane of my existence. And so I wasn't sure I really wanted to wear starling socks myself. But I really liked the colorway, and I knew Ed wouldn't even know or care. He's extremely knit-worthy, so I make him a pair of socks every year for his birthday and give him chocolate also. This is an Eye of Partridge heel, just for fun, and my usual rounded toe. So with my toes, basically what I do is, if it's 72 stitches, I decrease every second round to 36 stitches, and then I decrease every round for 4 more rounds. So I end up with 10 stitches on each side of the needle before I graft them. So glad to have those done. They need to get wrapped up and ready for his birthday. Well, like I said, his birthday's gone, but to give to him for his birthday. Whoops, I've got a glass with ice in it and it's sticking to the coaster. The condensation. All right, do you notice anything? You've seen this for a long time, almost a whole year. I started this sweater back in January, and I was really hoping to finish it before Vlogmas started. I missed that by a day. I finished binding it off on December 1st and then blocking it. So I am happy to say my A Legacy pullover is complete, and I really love it. And so before I sat down here, I filmed a little segment all about it, which I will put in right here. Here it is, at long last, my A Legacy pullover, also known as Sparkle by Kirsten Michelle. I knit this from Cascade 220 Sport in the Jet colorway, and then all of the color work is done using hand spun, which I spun from a mixed BFL spinning set by Fiber Nymph Dye Works in the A Legacy colorway. And that spinning set was gifted to me by Lisa of Fiber Nymph Dye Works soon after I began spinning. And I knew right away that I really wanted to, I guess, pay homage to the inspiration behind the A Legacy colorway. And that inspiration was a blanket that Lisa's grandmother had made. And quite often on her podcast, you could see it sitting on the chair behind her in her porch room. And so, and it was a chevron stitch that was used for the blanket, and I decided that I wanted to then incorporate some sort of zigzag or chevron stitch into the project that I made with this yarn. And so the hunt was on for just the right pattern, and I finally settled on Sparkle. It's a top-down circular yoke sweater, and it had charts for the color work on the yoke and the sleeves, and I made some adjustments to the chart so that it would fit the number of colors that I had in this gradient set, and then I adjusted it again. First I started out here and then I adjusted it on the bottom too. The pattern had you decrease your sleeves, then do color work, and then decrease quickly at the very end. So you had not quite a puffed sleeve, but more volume through here. And I wanted it to be more form-fitting, and so I worked the final decreases into the color work here. And then the pattern gave you the option of doing waist shaping or not. I chose waist shaping, but I adjusted where I did the decreases. I brought them in a little bit more on the front and back. So I'm going to come in closer so you can see this color work up close. I was a little bit concerned because my yarn was not even, and it varied in thickness between each color. It was me trying my hand at chain plying with varying degrees of success. But now that it's all knit and been blocked, definitely it's become more cohesive, which was my hope. It's a little bit hard to actually, it's almost like the closer I am to you, the less saturated the colors are, but at least you can get an idea. From back here, it is actually quite accurate looking, at least on my screen. And in addition to working with this colorway for the spinning set, I also had purchased the matching sock yarn. It was my plan to work on these together and not finish the socks until I finished the pullover, but then it just took me so long and I just really wanted these off my needles, so I did finish these a while ago. But now I have a matching set. And just as a reference, again, I will link these on my project page, but this is the Heel Toe Do-Si-Do pattern by Kayla Litton of the Crazy Sock Lady podcast and designs. And again, I wanted to incorporate the chevrons into the design. So, just trying to think anything more to tell you. I knit, I believe, the 38 and a half inch size. I think my gauge might be a little bit looser. But I'm really happy with how it has turned out, really happy with how it fits. I will give you a quick little twirl here so you can see it from all sides. So there you have it. Thank you again, Lisa, for your generous gift of the spinning set. It was great fun to spin it up, and even more satisfying, gratifying to see it knit into a real life garment. All right, and now it is time for works in progress, and everything I'm going to show you is new, except if you've been watching Vlogmas, then you will have seen some of these projects before. First up are my Miss Marple scrappy socks. So last year I had a Miss Marple Advent kit or Advent collection from Bluebird Yarn, and I made the grand opening shawl by Stephanie Lotfin of Tilly Bean Knits. It's actually right here behind me. How convenient. So I had 24 20-gram minis plus a 100-gram day 25 skein. And so this shawl called for 25 colors, and so I used all 24 from my minis, and then I used the day 25 skein to knit this last row on the shawl. So I will link this in the show notes below, and I also include a link to the blog, which has the video and the show notes there, and also the A Stitch in Time podcast Ravelry group. I will put the episode there with show notes, and all the projects will link back to my Ravelry projects page. So I had quite a bit of yarn left over, and I've had a few different advents over the years, and I always like to do a pair of scrappy socks. And so I use, let's see, are they convenient? Yes, they're in this bag. I got everything in this bag here that I made a few years ago. So these are my Anne of Green Gables scrappy socks that I knit from leftovers from a mini skein set. From Mid Knit Cravings. So I start with the toe, work my way up to the stripe. In this case, I did the short row heel with the same color as I used for the stripe there. In this case, what I'm going to do is I've reached, this was the 10th color today. And then I have knit 3 rounds with the next color. And then I am going to put in short row heels, also using the Day 25 skein color, which is called Christmas in St. Mary Mead. And St. Mary Mead is where Miss Marple lives. And I'm assuming most people know who Miss Marple is, but if not, Miss Marple is a fictional character by Agatha Christie, and she is an elderly woman who lives in a small town and has a knack for solving murders. So anyway, I've been working on these basically 6 rounds every day, although I did have the toes done up before Advent started, or before December started. And so anyway, I am knitting 6 rows a day, and then in this case I've already put in 3 rounds of the new color, and then I will put in the heels tomorrow. So that sock is that far in. I don't know where the other one is. It should be in this bag somewhere. Oh yes, it's just hiding at the bottom. So this one is just done up till color 10. So it's been really fun rediscovering all these colorways, and I'd forgotten what they were all named. So I still have the little bags that they came in, and so they have the, obviously you can see the number of the day, and then each of them has a little tag with the name of the colorway. So this one is Dolly Bantry, which is one of Miss Marple's friends. And so, yeah, it's been really fun. It's like having a brand new Advent again, almost, to enjoy. And I do have an Advent that I am opening this year. I'll talk about that more in when I talk about acquisitions. But if that's your thing, you can see me, see my new color every day if you are interested in watching Vlogmas. Okay, so that is one pair of socks that I'm working on. As I mentioned, the Day 25 skein from that Advent collection was called Christmas in St. Mary Mead. And so I am also working with that. And I found a pattern by this Handmade Life, who is Olivia Villarreal. And it's called St. Mary Mead. So I thought that's a perfect combination. And even better is it's a toe-up sock. And so I weighed this yarn beforehand. After I do the short row heels for the other socks, I'll weigh it again, so I have an idea of how much yarn I have to work with, and then I can make the legs on this sock as short or long as I have yarn or as I would like. It seems to be going a long ways. So you can see the sock has just a very simple, pretty lace pattern on it. It's a 6-row repeat, only 2 rows actually have lace patterning. So they're easy to work on. And this was a new to me construction. I've done toe-up socks before, and I've done toe-up socks with a gusset, but I've always had a traditional heel flap that that the gusset comes into. And in this case, just happen to have sock blockers here. In this case, the gussets kind of come on a diagonal instead of going into a square. Instead of going into a square heel flap, it's like they go. It almost looks like a combination gusset and short row heel construction. Now, as I was explaining on my Vlogmas episode this morning, the socks are not quite, you might be able to tell, they're not quite as snug as most of the socks that I make. And I was kind of blaming this heel. I feel like I could have started the gusset increases slightly before I did. By the time I had worked the whole heel and tried them on, I just didn't really want to go back and redo them. And so I decided I can live with that. But then I also discovered this morning while I was cleaning up the craft room that instead of using a 2mm needle like I usually do for my fingering weight socks, I'd accidentally started using a 2.25mm needle. And I feel like that's also just creating a fabric that is just a little bit looser, or a sock that's just a little bit looser than I prefer. But this is going to go in the bin, or this pair, when it's done, it's going to go in the bin with my Christmas and winter socks. And I only wear those sort of through December and January. And so I'll probably only end up wearing it once or twice a year. And so I figure if that's the case, I can handle a slightly too big sock for, 16 hours a year. So I'm just going to carry on. What I might do, I was thinking, I've done a couple of lace repeats since I joined back after the heel. And what I might do is switch now to a smaller needle just so that it hugs my leg a little bit more. And then that way, at least it's not going to be slipping down my leg, because that's no fun. But I think you can even see there's like a little bit extra fabric here at the toe. There's still a part of me that's tempted to go back, but then I would have to go all the way back to here where the gusset decreases started. No, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. You heard it here, folks. I'm not doing it. Even though I'm tempted. Because if you've watched for any length of time, you know I'm kind of a perfectionist in that way and will not usually hesitate to rip things back when I don't like the way they work the first time. All right, I have one more pair of socks to show you. Last episode, I showed you some yarn that I had gotten from Hobbi or Hobbi, however you say it. And it was, one of them was the, let me find the label here. Here it is. It's the Christmas sock wool glitter. This is color 3 Comet, so I'm calling them my On Comet socks. They are, it's a 4-color striping repeat with lots of gold sparkle. And I decided just for fun that when the stripe changes color, I'm doing slip 1 with yarn in front, knit 1, slip 1, knit 1 all the way around on the first round where the color changes, and then I just start knitting again. And that just makes it more interesting. So again, the other day on Vlogmas, I was talking about my dilemma as far as heels went. Because the stripes are so big, if I just continued with the main ball of yarn, it would be some weird striping repeats around the gusset area. But I couldn't find a complementary solid yarn or variegated yarn for that matter that I could use for coordinating heel flap and heel turn. And so what I ended up doing is taking yarn from the other end of the ball, starting the heel at the same place in the striping sequence as the main part of the sock. And then once I had done the heel turn, I joined the original yarn back in. So I'm now working down doing this dark green stripe. So I've done a couple of rows on the gusset. And I went to do the heel on the second sock because I am knitting them concurrently. And I realized that I didn't have the right number of stitches when I did the slip 1, knit 1 row between the cream and the red. I somehow ended up with an extra stitch. I think it was on the following round I knit into something I shouldn't have. And so I did rip that straight back. So I just have, you know, a little ways to go until I finish that red stripe. And then I can start the heel on this one. So those are all of my December / Advent / Christmas projects that I'm doing right now. So this one I've got in my, what I call my ugly sweater bag. All of these project bags I've made myself over the years. This one I really love. It's like a little tiny birds, snowflakes and stars. And then I showed you the one that I'm using for my Miss Marple socks. So I do have 2 more works in progress, but they are the same project. So last episode, sorry, leaning out of frame here. Last episode, I told you that I had been rather taken by the Icelandscape shawl by Stephen West. And this is his shawl for this year's Hybrid Knit Along. And he usually does that Hybrid Knit Along. I think it usually starts after Christmas. But I wanted to start it right away. So hopefully you got a good look at that. And I was drawn to 2 different colorway sets on the Stephen and Penelope website. And I couldn't decide which one I liked better. But it was more than I could justify spending to get even 1 kit, let alone 2. And so I ended up going on to Holst Garn, which is a Danish company, and I chose colors from their super soft line in similar shades, and I put together my own 2 comparable color palettes. And so I have worked the first 3 sections of each shawl, and each of the shawls is working. There are 8 colors. Well, you can do an 8 color version or a 4 color version. I'm doing 8 color versions, and you work colors, at least the first 3 sections, you work colors 1 through 8 in order. So I have done that. I've completed 3 sections on each shawl, and now I'm putting them aside until probably after Christmas. But I just have been loving how this is turning out and could not wait to show you. So this is inspired by I think it was Jewels, Winter Jewels colorway set on the Stephen and Penelope website. It's curling up a little bit. And I've got light that's shining through, so it's hard. I'm trying to hold it so you can see the intensity of the colors. I'm gonna bring it up close now. There might be some light coming through, but starts out with garter stitch, and then it moves to a syncopated brioche section, and then it repeats this garter stitch stripe section. So this syncopated brioche, I've only done, I think, brioche once before, and that was in a Stephen West mystery shawl. I think it was the Shawlography. And so it wasn't difficult. I just had to follow the instructions, and sometimes I would be following the wrong instruction and have to rip out, but I actually got really good at picking back the brioche. And I think it looks really cool, especially when you see it like this. You can really see the differences in the colors. As you can tell, these last 3 shades are quite similar, and so it's not as obvious, but other places there's a good contrast between the 2 colors. And on the garter stitch sections, I was weaving in my ends as I went, but I found I didn't know what to do with my ends in the brioche section, because I couldn't just knit over them or kind of weave them in along the row as I normally would. And so one day I sat down, and what I ended up doing is, I don't think you're going to be able to tell, but I ended up doing kind of duplicate stitch as I moved across the row on the wrong side. So still ends. I won't trim these ends until the project's washed and blocked and finished. But I definitely am pleased now that I don't have 16 ends hanging down anymore. And I'm quite happy with how I wove them in. I think they're quite invisible. So yeah, not fun. Do not enjoy weaving in ends. Do not pretend to. And hope that the next sections are all easy to do as I go. Anyway, so there is the one. Love it, love it. And then the other one is inspired by the Geyser color set. And this is much more icy and subtle and equally beautiful. Oh, love it. I can't decide which one I like better. I think I lean towards this one, but I love this one too. They're so different. It's like comparing apples and oranges. I love jewel tones, and I love the bright colors, rich colors in here. But this, to me, when I think Iceland and I think of ice and mountains and water and forest, like that's what this says to me. The jewel tones don't really scream Iceland to me, but I love them too. So you can see that syncopated brioche is much more subtle on this shawl because a lot of the colors are really similar. So pretty, so pretty. I need to get pictures up and get these on Ravelry. I have pictures of the yarns, but I don't have pictures of any of the knitting. And that goes for a lot of things. I am so far behind in my Ravelry project page photos, and I need to get a day with good light and lots of time, and those things just haven't happened. So I have these, I picked up, I don't know, a month or two ago, picked up these collapsible boxes from IKEA, which fit in my Billy bookcases really well. But I had some leftovers, and look how perfectly I can put my yarn in there. So you can see I've labeled them A, B, C, D, etc. And so this just sits beside me. I can pick the colors out as I need them, put them back in, and then right now anyway, each shawl just sits in its own bin, so it's perfect. And then that just sits here beside my chair where all my other projects are. I have a big wicker basket here, and then right now my basket is runneth over. It runneth over, but I think after I show you some things today, I can put some things away, and that'll help tidy things up. All right, spinning. Pardon me again, I'm gonna go diving in the basket here. All right, last episode I showed you 2 projects that I was working on. One was this. It is a mixed BFL top from Fiber Nymph Dye Works in the This Day We Fight colorway. And that is a colorway that was done as a fundraiser for 2024 suicide prevention. And so some money from the yarns and fibers that were dyed for this collection were given to Canines for Warriors, who work with the veteran population, the Trevor Project, which works with at-risk LGBTQ plus youth, and CHAD, children and adults with ADHD. And so very, very worthy causes. And so I bought 2 4-ounce braids. And what I ended up doing was I took one braid and split it lengthwise into 4, spun them from top to bottom. And then the other braid I took and split into 8, spun it top to bottom or end to end, and then I applied the 2 together. And it turned out exactly as I was thinking it would, hoping it would. I ended up with, now I struggle, I do have a yarn counter, and sometimes depending which direction I'm winding it off, whether I'm winding it off the Swift onto, or off the bobbin onto the yarn ball winder, or whether I'm taking it off of a cake, winding it back onto the Swift. I keep getting different amounts, but I would say I have approximately close to 1,000 yards of a 2-ply. So I'm guessing it is would be like a heavy lace to a light fingering. Not sure how well all the colors are showing up. This is like a purpley color here. Anyway, I think I mentioned this last week. I'm planning to do the Unwinding Hours shawl, which was a pattern that was written forehand spun by Chrissy Prang of Left Side Knits. Not sure when that's getting cast on, but now that I've shown this to you, I feel like I can do it anytime. I've been saving this till that. And then the other thing I was showing you is I had this tube full of fiber that I had bought from Sweet Georgia Yarns. So it was a color and fiber play kit, and there were 8 short lengths of combed top, non-superwash blue-faced Leicester. The little ticket says approximately 22 to 25 grams each. I think the least I had was 23 grams, the most was 29 grams. So I had this plan, and I think I might have had it all laid out last episode when I showed you, to divide it all in half, and then spin them end to end in one continuous length on one bobbin. And then on the second bobbin, take half the cream and move half of this amount. Say if this was how they're laid out, take half of the amount from the beginning, like divide this part in half, put half at the end, spin it along. And then the idea in my mind, what would happen is it would go, the first part would, when it was all plied together, okay, I would spin them on 2 separate bobbins. When they were all plied together, I would have a length of cream spun with the orchid, then a whole section of orchid spun on itself, and then a section of orchid and pumpkin, and so on until at the end would be half a length of the charcoal, and then half a length of charcoal and this, can't tell what that's called. Can't read it. It's too light and it's too small. Anyway, the cream color. And in theory, it should have worked, and it did work, but what I wasn't thinking about is because all of the little bumps were not the same weight, it wasn't like I ended up with equal lengths cream, equal lengths cream and orchid and pumpkin. I was picturing that it would be, equal amounts. But of course, it wasn't, because there were different amounts of fiber. And so it did work in a sense in that, look at this. Woohoo! It did work in that you can see I do have the cream on its own, and then I do have orchid and cream, plain orchid and pumpkin. There's some plain pumpkin hiding in there too, etc., etc. But they are not equal sections of solid and marled. And in fact, some sections there's like loads of one or the other, and others there's like, I forget what color it is. I think it's the blue and the yellow, or blue and the green. That's what it was. Like there was hardly any that was like blue and green, and not much solid blue. So it's just how it all worked out. But the main idea worked. I did end up with a skein like I was picturing. just not equal sections of each color. But I am going to make this up into something from one end to the other, probably shawl. Again, I have quite a bit here. I ended up with, oh, that's the wrong thing. 220 grams, and I estimate about 885 yards. So about a fingering weight. And so I picture this in some sort of shawl or something of that nature. But yeah, fun, hey? It was a lot of fun to spin, because you just kept wanting to go to the next color and the next color, and then plying it and seeing how it all plied up was super fun. So yay for that. I would call it overall a success, although not perfect, but that's okay. It's a whole learning thing. And now what I'm working on is, we had our Spinners and Weavers Guild monthly meeting couple of weeks ago, and Jude was there. Jude of Useful Creations was there with her fiber. She's always there to tempt us, and she had this most gorgeous red fiber. It was in all different shades of red, and it just spoke to me. But it's the fiber content. It was merino, silk, and linen. I guess technically flax. No, it's linen. Doesn't matter. It says linen on the tag. Anyway, and so this is not red, obviously, but you can see the different fibers in the comb top. So you have sections. I just don't want to mess this up too much. You know, you have sections where the fiber has not picked up the dye. I'm pretty sure this is like the linen part. And then the silk and merino pick up the dye differently. So in addition to her using all these different shades of red to dye the fiber, it also has variations because of the fiber makeup. Anyway, it was gorgeous, and I thought it'd make the most beautiful sweater. But before committing to a whole sweater's quantity, I bought a skein of a different colorway just to try it out and see if I liked spinning it. So I am halfway through that. So this is how this is spinning up. It's pretty fine. This is a little thicker than parts of it were spinning up, although it's still fine. So when I started, I thought I would do a 2-ply. So I had divided it into 8 lengths. I divided the braid into 8 vertically. I had 4 on one side, 4 on the other, and I was going to just spin them all end to end. And then when I first started spinning, it was coming up really fine, and I didn't feel like 2 plies was going to be enough. And I'd already divided it up, so I thought, well, it's not going to work for 3-ply. So I'm actually going to try a 4-ply for the first time. So that's just for fun. See how that is. Sometimes I enjoy spinning this, and then sometimes I don't. Sometimes these, whether this is, I'm assuming this is the linen part, it can be a little bit coarse sometimes, and it can kind of clump. You kind of have to spread it apart a little bit, and sometimes it just seems to stick in a clump and be a little bit less soft. So I'm not sure. I just recently saw Jude, and I said I've got to finish this up before I can commit to like a whole sweater's worth. But if I did, the color was just amazing. Gonna lean over, put this back. Actually, oh yeah, I've got just the teeniest, weeniest bit on my e-spinner, which is right under the table where you are sitting right now. It's perfect. I have it on a little IKEA plant stand, which is quite low, and I can just stick it right under my table here and spin away and tuck it out of sight when I need to. So in addition to that fiber, I also bought, speaking of red, and I think this, she said this might be the same dye combination, only on 100% non-superwash merino. And she actually told me the other day she found a second one of these, so I asked her to keep that for me, because it definitely is nice to have two of a skein often, depending on what you want to do with it. The reds that were on the, looks quite pinky. The reds that were on the other fiber looked more like true reds. Less pink, more true red. But equally gorgeous. So I got that. And then these two are superwash merino nylon. So more socks. I have realized I have several purple superwash merino nylon braids, and so I'm thinking what I might do is over the course of the year is spin up a skein of sock yarn for my daughter-in-law Stephanie, because she really likes purples and aquas, and so I know she would like that, and I think it would be fun for her to have the experience of knitting with hand spun. Let me check my notes. Was there anything else for acquisitions? Oh yes, so one sec, I'm just gonna jot over there. One sec. Way back in the spring, I ordered an advent from Yarn Inc. They are out of Alberta, Canada. And it contained 24 20-gram minis, a day 25 skein, and some stitch markers and a candle. So this was the inspiration card or picture when you ordered it. And so it's been interesting to see how it's developing, and it seems to be kind of going from the bottom up. So today was day 9, so we now have 9 skeins. Started out more creamy, I've got them over there, and then kind of going into this goldy tone into brown, and now it's kind of into this maroon brown with a bit of purple in it. If you've been watching Vlogmas, you will have seen it, but I will pop a picture in here of days 1 through 9, so you will get an idea of what I'm opening each day. And then let me just reach over back here. Well, here's the candle. It says, today's moments are tomorrow's memories. And it doesn't have a like a specific name for the scent. I dropped it on the ground, so it's a little bit dented. It's hard to take the top on and off. I don't know if you can see, when it was brand new, it had some iridescence on the top. Now that it's been melted and reformed, there's a lot less of that glitter and iridescence. But it definitely has a very, what I describe as a holiday, warm holiday scent. I feel like there's some kind of pine or woodsy smell in there, maybe a bit of vanilla, maybe a bit of spice. My first thought when I smelled it was apple, but I think it's more that it's got that pine smell. As it's burning, you know, it's more subtle and you get to smell. I'm gonna lean over here again. Spoiled by all this bounty. So here's the day 25 skein. It was not disguised. It was just in a organza bag. So this is Star Shine in the Darkness. So various shades of black and gray. Almost a purpley tone in here. And then there were these cute little stitch markers. So let's flip this mitten around if I can. Oh, no. They're cute. So I haven't used them yet, obviously, but very sweet. And I do not have a project in mind yet. I say that, I keep saying that, and I do not have a specific project. I'm kind of wondering if there's a way that I could use all of these in a sweater of some sort. Maybe have this for like the bands or somehow incorporate that. Not sure. It's all percolating, I think, until I see them all and get a real sense of what I have to work with. I'm not going to be able to commit to a project. And then last but not least, this was, we had our Spinners and Weavers Guild Christmas lunch last Saturday, and on every chair was a unique cloth bag that had been made by one of the guild members. So I actually had a Grinch, same style, but a Grinch fabric, Christmas fabric on the bag. And then it turns out there is a woman who, a member who really loves the Grinch. And so I was happy to trade with her because I like the Grinch, but not as much as she does. And so it made her really happy to get it. And I think this is absolutely gorgeous. Plus it won't just be limited to Christmas use. So I've never seen a bag like that before, but very cool. They're all different styles and all different fabrics. So very nice. All right, I'm curious what time it is. Oh, 20 to 4, okay, or 20 to 5, I mean. So Cameron will be about half an hour. I've got lots of time to finish up before he gets home, and then I can edit this tonight. Lots of things have been going on. I'm going to take a quick sip here before I start talking again. I think last episode I talked about the fact I was going into a bonspiel, which I did. We had a lot of fun. I was part of that committee, so I was busy with like doing name cards and helping set up tables and things for the dinners, and there was a luncheon for one event and then dinner for our event, all right together. And anyway, yeah, it was really fun. I curled with my sister and a couple of members of her team. So one person I had met before, knew from curling on that league before, and the other is someone new to me. She's new to Chilliwack here, and so really nice. It was fun curling with her. So very good time. And then so that was on the Friday and Saturday, and then on the Sunday afternoon I went to our the local Christmas craft market and worked on cash at the Spinners and Weavers Guild booth for a couple of hours, which was really good. I hadn't been before, and it was neat to see the kinds of things that people have made to sell. And I am really thinking about that for next year, is making some things that I might sell at the craft sale. If you're doing like knitting and crochet, it has to be your own, like has to be hand spun yarn that you are using. If you are weaving, it can be any type of yarn. So lots of options. And it's a way for, well, some people use it as a way to earn some money for, you know, for income. Others use it as a way to support their yarn fiber habit, which I can completely relate to. Oh, sorry, sniffle, sniffle. I think it was the following weekend we helped move our son and daughter-in-law out of their old teeny tiny townhouse into their new 2-bedroom condo. I think I talked about a little bit about that on my last episode. So it's this, they're in the same building as our younger son used to live in, and actually our older son who just moved in there, Matthew, he had lived with our younger son there for a time also. So he was familiar with the building, as was Stephanie, because she had visited there numerous times. It's not an exact mirror image of Colin's old place, but it's a similar layout, but mirror image. And so they are getting settled in, and then before Christmas they are getting some new countertops done in the bathrooms and kitchen, and getting a dishwasher installed. So they're pretty excited about that. But they've done a good job getting settled in, and they are hosting Christmas dinner this year. So that's exciting. And it's so funny too, because they were showing us the dining room set that they were buying. And I said, that's the same one we have. And then it turns out Stephanie's parents have it. And then Stephanie's sister and her husband also bought the same one. So all 4 of us have the same dining room set. I think it works for all of us because it's smaller, narrower than a lot of other dining room sets, and it fits well into small spaces. So it's ideal for their place, it's ideal for our place, and obviously works for Steph's parents and sister and brother-in-law too. So that's just funny how, and apparently Steph's parents bought it like several years ago, so it's not even like all of us at once. So yeah, the day after we helped the move, we participated in a charity volleyball event that we go in most years, and it's in support of local children. So in addition to paying a registration fee, you also bring an unwrapped gift. So for a good cause, so we played a couple of games, and then we all went out for lunch, and then that was just a nice way to spend part of a Saturday, get a little exercise, catch up with some friends. It was great. And I think it was just a couple of days after that, we had gone curling on the Monday night, and that night just before bed I started feeling like I had a sore throat, but didn't think too much of it. I honestly just thought it was from curling and breathing in the dry air in the rink, and that I just thought my throat was irritated. But then I was aware of it overnight and woke up the next morning definitely coming down with something. And so I've been going through the various stages over the course of the last week. You may be able to hear I still have some congestion and some coughing, a little bit of phlegm still going on here, but definitely feeling much better than I did a few days ago. So glad to get it out of the way before the holidays. Especially we have some different events coming up. Let me just see what else I've got here. I mentioned the Spinners and Weavers Guild lunch that took place on Saturday, and then afterwards we went to see our granddaughter's roller derby event. And unfortunately, we were a little bit late for it because the guild lunch ran late, and then they started a little bit earlier, so we didn't get to see the whole thing, but we saw a good chunk of it. And we're really impressed by how much improvement we see since the last time that we saw her skate. She's getting more confident and more competent. Her skills have increased, and so has her confidence. So it was enjoyable to do that. And then our younger son Colin and his wife Bronwyn were there to watch also, and then they came over to our house after for a drink. And then Cameron got hold of our other son, Matt and Steph. Cameron contacted Matthew, and he and Stephanie came over and joined us too. So that was a nice thing. And then when they left, Cameron suggested we just go to the pub for dinner. So we walked over there. That was nice and easy peasy. And I'm just gonna see. Yeah, so it's just this week we have a few events coming up. We have Thursday is a potluck dinner here for our complex. They hold 2 of them. So one is happening tonight. We signed up for Thursdays. And then Friday we're going to a party, and then Saturday night is Cameron's work Christmas parties. We've got 3 events, 3 days in a row, plus some other daytime kind of appointments and things. So it's going to be a busy week going forward. So I'm glad I was able to get this recorded today. And then Christmas this year, I don't think I'm going to be having another regular episode, probably not even before the end of the year. Christmas is a little bit different this year. We, as I mentioned, we're going to Matt and Steph's for dinner. We are only going to have, for sure, company overnight once. That's my sister and brother-in-law from Toronto. So they're going to stay here the night they get here, and then stay until the next evening, which will be Christmas Eve. And so they'll be here for Christmas Eve evening, as will my older sister and her husband and my mom. So they'll all be here. We'll have drinks and appies, and then Jacqueline and Ed will go and stay with my other sister and her husband with my mom. So they wanted to spend as much time with my mom as they can. So my mom is going to be in one home for a few days with Jacqueline and Ed, and then move to another sister's for a few days. And then Jacqueline and Ed are having dinner with my younger sister, but my mom and Anna Marie and Doug are going to have Christmas dinner with us too. We've invited Cameron's brother and his wife to come for a few days. They're not sure yet what they're going to do. Their cat is not well, and so it's hard for them to get away. So we will see. But yeah, that's kind of how the holidays are shaping up for us. And then on the 27th, it's our turn to host my side of the family's holiday appy night get together. And so we've rented the clubhouse here for that, and are looking forward to our turn at hosting. So even though our place is a little bit small for it, that's why we have the clubhouse. It's awesome. So excited about doing that too. All right, yeah, so because of all that, just Christmas week being busy, I am not anticipating another episode before the end of the year, but I will be doing Vlogmas up until December 24th, Christmas Eve. So if you are interested in what's going on, you can check that out. Okay, time for something good. And I really debated whether or not to talk about this. I try not to include other people's stories. I always think it's their story to tell, but you don't know the people, so it's not like I'm giving things away. It just, doing a lot of talking to try and explain it. So last evening, actually just after I had filmed my last Vlogmas segment, I was editing it before getting stuff ready for dinner. All of a sudden, in our sisters chat, my younger sister posted that that my nephew's family's house had caught on fire. And my sister had actually, she was on a video call with them and was reading her granddaughter a story when all of a sudden her daughter-in-law came and snatched up her granddaughter and said, "We have to get out of here. There's a fire. Our house is on fire." So of course my sisters and I were all chit-chatting back and forth about it. That is not good. What is good is that they got out safely. A neighbor saw the smoke. It was the fire was in their attic. He saw the smoke, knocked on the door, and everyone got out. The cat got out. They were able to grab a few items of clothing, and the fire trucks arrived right away. And even though there's a lot of smoke and water damage, and the house will need some restoration work, the main part of the house is not burned. It's water and smoke damage, but it's still intact. It just needs to be restored. So they've lost, sadly, pretty well everything that they have because of the smoke and water damage. They're going to have to start over with furniture and clothing and household items. But the good news is they are alive to do that. If it had happened later, it was about 8:30, 7:30, maybe 7:30 their time. They live in Saskatchewan. They had just moved this summer and just bought this place. And so it's really hard. They were able to go back in today and take a good look, and it hit them pretty hard. But they have had just an amazing amount of support from the community, and looks like they've already got a place lined up where they'll be able to live while their house is being worked on. So lots of things to go through, but just my something good is everyone's safe, and homes and items can be replaced, people can't. So we're all just incredibly grateful that they're okay. But yeah, big shock last night. So I think a lot of us, that's one of our worst nightmares, because fire is just so destructive and so fast, and it's hard anytime, but it's especially at this time of year. But yeah, so grateful that they're okay, and they'll be okay. Okay, on that note, I am going to say goodbye. If you're watching Vlogmas, I'll see you tomorrow. And if not, I will see you in the new year. Have a wonderful holiday season, and take care over the next few weeks, and I'll see you in the new year. Bye for now, and thanks so much for watching and for all your support this whole year, especially this whole year. It's been a crazy one. Hopefully in the new year I'll be able to get back to more regular recording and more content. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me. Bye now.